You're listening to How to 20 Something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20 Something. Welcome back to another episode of How to 20 Something, where today's topic is on the top 10 red flags to look out for in your relationship. I went back and forth with planning this episode on whether I should have this topic encompass all relationships, from romantic to friends to professional. And while you can probably easily carry over the red flags into the other categories of relationships, I think it's best to focus on your romantic one, the person you are dating. I know I did an episode with a guest on are they the one or is it time to run? But this one is a little different. This episode is to highlight the sneaky red flags that you need to open your eyes to when it comes to the person you're dating. I find that it's like a rite of passage moment to date someone really shitty in your early 20s as a way to learn what you're actually looking for in a forever spouse. So this episode is to help you clarify for yourself if this is the person you want to spend your life with. And if that's not what your goals are right now, I suggest you still listen because you're spending a lot of time with this not so great person, so it's going to affect you regardless. Your confidence, your codependence, your other relationships, how you view yourself and your life, your dreams, your goals. Like in 2019, when I graduated college and had no job lined up yet, I thought about getting my personal training certification, and my boyfriend at the time told me not to, that it would be a waste of time and money. And I listened to him. I trusted his word. Fast forward to a whole year later, when I lost my job during the pandemic, I figured listening to him last year didn't improve my life any, so I'm going to listen to myself this time and just do it. Like Nike. It's not like I needed him to pay for it or anything, but I did want his emotional support. And then when it came time for me to make the decision to leave my corporate job and pursue coaching and personal training full-time in 2021, he was unsupportive yet again, as though I didn't learn my lesson the first time around in 2019. But again, I had already learned not to listen to him when it came to my dreams and goals. He was the person holding me back from what I wanted to explore, and that was when I started to realize that he's not the person for me. I needed someone who was going to be cheering me on to chase after my dreams, not try to talk me out of it. And I know it does come from a place of care, especially when it's a dream about your career path, because the person you're with sees a future with you, and it's scary to have a partner want to take a gamble on their career and therefore finances. But remember, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if it's not a dream about your career, it's a dream about traveling or where to live or a family. All in all, the person you date has a massive level of influence over you, whether you like it or not. And it takes a lot of guts to walk away from this person, confront them, or stand up against them to your benefit. So let's get into the first red flag that I'm going to take you through out of all 10. The first one, and these are in no particular order either, but the first one I'm going through is piggybacking off of the story I just shared, which is red flag number 1 is if they do not support your dreams or don't encourage you to give them a try. Instead, they'll downplay your goals, joke about them, subtly steer you towards something smaller, or change the subject whenever you bring it up. Those are definitely things to look out for. You want to be with someone who wants you to shoot for the stars and cheer you along the whole way, especially because you're going to have your own moments of doubt, and you need a partner to be the person to pick you back up and tell you, you got this, not feed into the doubts you're already having. Again, take my story as an example. Towards the end, I knew deep down my ex wanted to be supportive, but could not bring himself to be. He would question my choices by saying, why would you leave a stable corporate job for no guarantee? Luckily, I knew myself pretty well by this point and figured it's better to take a chance on myself than to let my fate lie in the hands of someone else. And I found something I'm super passionate about that you can make money off of. So, and here we are, 4.5 years later, thriving. So, in your face. But not supporting your dreams is red flag number one. Another red flag is if your partner makes literally any negative comment on your body. It's a no. Because your body, whether you're male or female, is going to keep changing as you get older. And if they don't like what they see in your 20s, I've got a rough reality check for you. And it's they're not going to like what they see ever. My ex used to say I was shaped like a door. He would play connect the dots with my acne. He would threaten to break up with me if I ever gained 5 pounds. And I know what you're thinking. Jess, why the fuck would you stay with someone like that? I'll tell you why. Because he would also call me a baddie. He found me desirable, and I brushed off his comments like it was a joke. It wasn't. But I was in my younger 20s, and I didn't know any better. I also didn't realize that everything he pointed out that was wrong with me and my appearance was him projecting his own insecurities. As someone who had to go on Accutane in high school, who gained upwards of 25 pounds in our relationship, I mean, he wasn't shaped like a door, but he had his own body insecurities that he wanted to include me in by making fun of me. So yeah, any negative comment about your appearance is an immediate no-go. That one might seem obvious, but when you're in love, you don't realize its impact on you. The third red flag is probably more sneaky in that it's emotional. But what you're going to want to look out for is, does this person shut down conversations when you bring something up that bothers you? Like if you're crying about something, do they try to get you to stop crying because they're uncomfortable? Or do they try to comfort you and be there for you? Ryan, my current boyfriend, thanks me when I cry in front of him. I kid you not. He'll literally say, "Thank you for opening up to me." Whereas I've been in a relationship where tears were not accepted. And he'd try to get me to cheer up and stop crying by deflecting the conversation to a different topic, or he would go completely silent. Like he didn't know what to do with me when I was upset. And I could have been crying because of him or something entirely different. If your partner shuts down hard or uncomfortable conversations by withdrawing, going silent, or deflecting, that's your red flag. You need someone who is going to stay engaged, sit through the discomfort, work things out in that moment to make sure you're okay and feel seen and heard. This is something that definitely, I would say, gets better with age, but that doesn't mean you aren't going to find an emotionally unavailable 30-something. It's just to know that people, for the most part, do mature as they get older. The fourth red flag kind of falls under the same umbrella, and it's when they listen with no follow-through. Meaning, they'll promise to change, to be better, and maybe that sticks for a week, maybe even a month. But you constantly find them resorting back to their old ways or old habits. You can recognize this one if you have the same fights over and over again, or find yourself getting upset over very similar things time and time again. In the moment, they might hear you. They make you feel seen and validated. They'll talk up a big game as to what will be different so as not to lose you. And then either temporary or no action takes place. You want to see consistent adjustments in their behavior. Now, no one is perfect, so they might slip up now and again, but you should see an improvement overall and an acknowledgement from them when they do mess up on accident. Now, these changes don't need to be some kind of grand gesture. You want to make sure that when you have these conversations, there is some kind of action plan that's going to help both of you stay accountable to what's being said in that particular conversation. Also, under that umbrella is red flag number 5. They make broken promises. They constantly say they'll take you here, do this, show up at this time, and you're getting to a point where you can't believe their word until it actually happens. And trust me when I say I see you on this one. It fucks with your head. Trust is necessary in any relationship. Yes, it's trusting they won't cheat on you, but it's also being able to trust what they say across all aspects. If you find yourself having to adjust your own expectations to spare your own feelings from being hurt or from being let down, that's your red flag. You want to be with someone who keeps their word. Once you experience broken promises in a relationship, you become forever changed. It then becomes one of the hardest things to gain trust in with someone new. In your current relationship, the broken promises are not going to get better. They're going to keep making them. So I need you to hear me when I say this. I would say abide by the 3 strikes you're out rule, because you deserve to be with someone who values the words that come out of their mouth because they value you as a person in their life and in general. All right, moving right along to red flag number 6. They don't take care of themselves. Now, this can fall under a lot of different categories, but if you're dating someone whose habits are less than desirable, the opposite of yours, or even the opposite of what you want yours to be, then that's a red flag. This could be basic hygiene, like showering and brushing their teeth. Or it could be their eating and drinking habits, their exercise regimen. If you want a future with this person, then you're going to want them to want to take care of themselves. Bonus green flag is if they want you to improve your habits too. Relationships should be pushing each of you to want to be better and do better for yourself and for your partner. If you deem them as lazy or unhealthy or gross, I mean, boys are gross in general, but there's like next level gross that's just unhygienic that you want to watch out for. And ladies, listen up for this one. Because if you want kids and are thinking of kids in your future with this person, as in it's a male who will impregnate you, the man's health will directly affect your pregnancy symptoms. The healthier he is, the easier your pregnancy is going to be. That is in terms of his alcohol consumption, food quality, and exercise regimen. I'm not saying you guys have to have the exact same habits when it comes to this red flag, but there should be a level of care you require in your partner and in yourself that aligns to some extent. Red flag number 7 is when they make you feel like you're being too much or too dramatic. Basically, it's when your emotions are not being taken seriously. This is where they'll brush you off, tell you to calm down, you're overreacting, or it's not that serious, and essentially invalidate your feelings. Or they throw them back at you. I'm going to get personal here. And it's not something I openly share, but I was in a relationship where my consent did not feel like it mattered. And when I finally had the courage to confront him, and we had a good conversation about it, the very next day, we were standing in a coffee shop and I leaned on him because I was tired, and he pulled away and said, "You didn't ask for consent first." That broke me. He just threw my own experience, a very personal experience, back at me. And truthfully, that was when I knew our relationship was over. So just know, your emotions, your experiences, how you interpret something is never, ever, ever too much for the right person. What you want instead is for your emotions to be met with curiosity and care, and like your heart is made of glass and this other person is doing everything in their power to make it feel protected and to not worry about it potentially being shattered. You want to be taken seriously, even if it's under the most bizarre scenario, because the reality is it's real to you. And you need your partner to be there with you in that moment, even if they don't entirely understand why you're feeling the way you do. Your emotions are valid, and you want to feel accepted in your most vulnerable state. Red flag number 8 is if they have an excuse for everything. Not to take things to the extreme here, but this is a form of narcissism. And people can have narcissistic tendencies and not be a flat-out narcissist. But this is when they justify their behaviors even though it hurt you. Whether it's because you made them act that way, or it was really your fault in the first place, or there was some other excuse they came up with. So instead of acknowledging where they went wrong or even apologizing for making you feel a certain way, they come up with some kind of excuse that essentially shuts down the rest of the conversation. Whether it was bad timing, work stress, prior traumas, we all have those things. And you can definitely explain why you did or didn't do something, but then you should still take responsibility for your actions upsetting your partner. Because in a healthy relationship, both things can be true. They can have an excuse or a reason, and you can still be hurt by what they did. The what happens next is what differentiates a red flag from a green flag. And that's in the form of apologizing and not trying to spin the story so the conversation ends without fully talking things through to prevent similar things from occurring in the future. Red flag number 9 is keeping score. This looks like, well, I paid this amount for dinner, so you need to pay for the next one. Or I planned the last 2 dates, so you should plan the next 2. Even I've initiated intimacy all these times, so I'm not going to initiate anymore until you start to. It looks at the relationship like a transaction of I did this, so why haven't you done the same? Like they will only do this kind of thing, which is usually the bare minimum, as long as you return the favor in an equal or greater way. Red flag. You want to be with someone who is mutually generous with no strings attached, because that's what relationships should be. You do not want them to feel transactional, of you owe them or they owe you. And this brings me to the final red flag, which pertains mostly to females since we're very mental when it comes to this sort of thing. But if you're hardly ever in the mood or only in the mood when you're under the influence or find yourself constantly bickering, nagging, snapping at your partner, then take that as your personal red flag. Not that you have the red flag, just that things are not working out with this other person and in this particular relationship. Typically, excessive bickering or being short-tempered stems from not feeling loved in your relationship. And as a result, you don't want to have sex with your partner. There's nothing wrong with you, and it doesn't mean your relationship is broken, but it is definitely a red flag that can be reversed if you're able to identify what's going on beneath the surface. Which, if you or your partner exhibits any of the other 9 red flags that I just listed, then there's a good chance you're not going to be able to unearth the bigger, deeper problems. So it's time to leave this relationship anyways. You want to feel mutually wanted. You want to want your partner and feel calm around them, and your partner should want you and want to help you feel calm and safe. Your short temper comes from being unloved. Or another way to think about it is you're not being loved in the way you receive love. This goes into what is your love language and how can your partner feed into it so your cup is full. But these are your 10 hidden red flags that you need to look out for in your relationship. And if your partner exhibits any one of them, then first bring it up to them with the solution in mind. And if that doesn't work, as in you get shut down or they get mad or defensive, then it is time to consider walking away. You deserve so much more than this, and it definitely comes with knowing your worth, having self-confidence, and finding the courage to walk away, all of which comes with age and experience. Here's what I don't want you to do. Beat yourself up for not realizing any of these things sooner. This is your first time living, so you'll always be learning and growing. And these are the seemingly less obvious red flags that happen behind closed doors. That isn't cheating or verbal, physical, or sexual abuse. Those are the giant ones. These are the more psychological and emotional ones that you might be turning a blind eye to. And the final thing I'll say as I wrap up this episode is to not hold on to the hope that they will change. People only change when they want to. And just because they temporarily change does not mean your relationship is fixed. If you're finding yourself saying when it's good, it's really good, you need to leave. Life is stressful enough. Your relationship should bring you peace, comfort, and happiness 98% of the time. And then that 2% is for the rough patches. Take your partner for who they are at face value and ask yourself, if nothing changed from this point on, would you still want to be in this relationship in 10 years? That will give you some very clear answers as to whether or not it's time to walk away. And if you need some support through this or someone to talk this over with, then please reach out to me. I know it's a tough decision. You're going to feel like you're moving backwards and everything in your life is going to change, so it's really scary. But I promise you, I'm here for you, and you're going to be so much better off in the long run. I do not regret leaving my ex. And I'm saying that as someone who stayed single for 3.5 years before meeting Ryan. I know you won't regret leaving this person either. So on that note, thank you for listening to another episode of How to 20-something. If you liked what you heard, learned something new, have a story to tell me about an ex or a current partner of yours, then please let me know. And then don't forget to share this episode in case someone needs to hear that they're in a bad relationship and you don't want to be the one to tell them so. You can post it on social media or send it directly to them. Just please help me help all of the 20-somethings in this world get out of shitty relationships and navigate the most confusing decade of their life. And as always, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.